Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being with us. Jason, thank you for engineering the broadcast at Genesis Communications Network. Class, Rich Scheben's with us, and he's got so much information. He says that. It's absolutely true. We're going to be talking about the selection. We're going to be talking about some things that are happening that are just downright confounding. And I'm delighted to be broadcasting with Rich Scheben. But first, Rich, did I hear you mention cars?
No, I think I said trucks.
Trucks.
You know, one of these days I'm really going to throw you for a loop. I'm going to say motorcycles.
Yeah. Well, do you ride a motorcycle?
I've had a few in my past, but since I got diagnosed with this stupid spinal stenosis, my arms and hands are so weak, I just feel it's not the best of ideas, especially with all the critters here in Montana. Because if I hit a deer or an elk or a bear or whatever on a motorcycle, I don't feel I have the strength to hold on anymore. So I gave it up. But that's okay. I had a lot of good years, a lot of fun, and it was worth it.
Well, Rich, we got an email, and I'd like to read it verbatim. Every single word. It's signed Kirk, K-I-R-K. And so here's the email. Quote, hello from Canada. It is truly upsetting and pathetic to see this egregious attempt in stealing this 2020 election. The patriots of the world are watching and taking note of all of the fallacies being allowed by the corrupt government, media, and high tech. Simply put, if America is allowed to fall, then there goes freedom for all of us. Really enjoy listening to the two of you. Looking forward to Thursday's show. Keep safe, and God bless both you and Rich. Please let Rich know his research and hard work are appreciated from us all. By far, one of the best platforms on all alternative media, or any media, period. Thank you for allowing the truth to breathe. Sincerely, Kirk. End quote. I thought I'd read that. And the reason is I wanted to thank Rich Scheben and all the instructors here at USA Prepares. We seek the truth, and we try to let you know as soon as things happen what's happening. And as far as the trucker strike, the media has, I believe, been downplaying it. And now more truckers are joining in. And they've had it. They've absolutely had it. And they know that pretty much most of everything that people buy travels by truck. And so more truckers are going to join in. And when that happens, it's going to get terrible. That's my opinion. Rich Scheben, any comments on what I've just said?
Well, as far as the truckers are concerned, they're hardworking patriots, and I absolutely agree with what they're doing. I think everybody in America, and just like Kirk was saying up in Canada, every patriot in this world, I called Gwyneth a patriot many times, even though she's from Australia. And I do that because people want truth, and they want freedom, and they want liberty all around the world. And the little people aren't getting it because we don't have representation. And Kirk, I want to thank you for the kind words. I'm not trying to dismiss what you said. I really appreciate it. But as I've mentioned on the air many times, and I've mentioned this to Vince privately, I'd rather be hated as the number one person in the world to be on the FBI wanted list. I would trade that in a minute to get our Bill of Rights, Constitution, freedom, and liberties back where there's no jeopardy, and we have truth, and we have freedom, and we have liberty, because the little guy has no representation at all. And that's why we're seeing all these units of despair increasing, because we can see how the system is so rigged, how the process is so fake, how whether it be countless statistical improbabilities, glitches, redating ballots, voting abnormalities. I mean, the whole government is now totally illegitimate. There's no legitimacy, and the bigger the institution, like whether it be the UN or the CFR or the Trilateral, doesn't matter. They're all fake. They're all representing the elite to take our rights away. So when you talk about up in Canada, you don't have the Constitution that we have, but the elite are trying to turn us here in America into subjects as well, because they have bought and paid for, and it could be blackmail, with all this pedophilia rings and stuff like Epstein, politicians, lawyers, judges, media, law enforcement, our own Department of Justice and FBI is totally illegitimate. It's gone. It's worthless. They have delegitimized work, the rule of law. They've set up a different set of rules, laws, and accountability, and eliminated truth based on what group you're in. Polls, voting, big government, big corporations, college degrees, SAT scores, opportunity. Everything in America is illegitimate because we have no protection, rights, or restitution of the rule of law. There's no transparency left. And this is why all patriots around the world need to do something. Do something. And too many of us are allowing political correctness to run our lives. We're allowing cognitive dissonance to run our lives, where certain people feel that they have a certain ideology and they got to vote a certain way, and they can't even see that the elite are running the narratives. And that's why we need shows like this to talk about what's happening. We'll never get consumer confidence back. We'll never get rewards for loyalty, the Constitution, the rule of law, if the people who are getting the benefits are the ones who are offended, the snitches, the tattletalers, the ass-kissers, the yes-men, the pot stirrers, the gossipers, the people who censor and virtue signal, the followers, the traitors, the people who use gimmickry as part of their MO, the people who get rewarded for corruption and manipulation, the practicing hypocrites and double standards, the people who scream racist, bigots, sexist, misogynists, all the, anti-Islamist phobes. We are allowing the narrative to run unchecked by certain powers, and we're sacrificing truth and the rule of law because of it. And that's why we have all this election fraud and interference. And that's why they're bringing in vaccines, and that's why they're bringing back the power for the military-industrial complex. And they want more wars if they fraudulently kick Trump out. This is a very serious thing that we're seeing here, folks, and everybody needs to participate. The silent majority shouldn't even be discussed as words. Everybody who wants freedom, liberty, and truth needs to stand up and hold the line. Vince?
I'd like to read a headline. This is from the AP, Associated Press. Quote, Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, poised to break stereotypes. That's the headline. Story goes on to say, in the Biden White House, the First Lady wants to keep her job teaching, and the second gentleman plans to quit his law firm to support the vice president's career. Doug Emhoff, the 56-year-old husband of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, will leave his private law practice by Inauguration Day to focus on his role at the White House. His role at the White House. Now, if you type in Doug Emhoff, you do a search, one of the things that comes up on the first page is from Wikipedia. And I'm going to read the whole thing. It's just a very short couple of sentences. But I'm going to read exactly, word for word, these are not my words, what comes up as the snippet, if you will, about Douglas Emhoff, E-M-H-O-F-F. Quote, Douglas Emhoff is an American lawyer and the husband of U.S. Senator and Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Harris. He is set to become the second gentleman of the United States and the first Jewish spouse of a president or vice president. Period. End quote. That's what it says. Then the next thing you might want to look up is go to a search engine, your favorite search engine. I hope it's DuckDuckGo, so you're tracked less. And type in the following. Biden, B-I-D-E-N, comma, I am a Zionist. Type that in. See what happens. See what happens. And Zionists are people who put their, we'll call it faith, first. That's number one. Number one, before anything else. Before anything else. So that's all I have to say on that right now. And I think you're going to be stunned when you see the results, the search results of Jumpin' Joe, the plagiarist, Biden, the stumblebum, on camera, saying he's a Zionist. You would think that you'd have to be American first to be president of America, United States of America. You would think that, wouldn't you? Well, let me know what you think when you type in Biden, comma, I am a Zionist. That puts America somewhere after Zionism. That's what that means. Now, these are not my words. He said it. He said it, and it's been recorded, and it's available for you to see for now. It may be removed. It's very disturbing. I want an American as CEO of the United States of America. That's what I would like. Any comments, Rich?
Well, I don't disagree, but what I like to do, Vince, I have so much new information just in the last 2 days that I've gleaned. I'd like to give as much ammunition to the free world as possible before it's too late, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
We'll be right back with Rich Scheben, and we'll even mention sometime during this broadcast what Deutsche Bank thinks. Deutsche Bank, what they think for those of us who have been working from home. Wait till you see what they want from you. We'll be right back. Rich Scheben's with us, and we're talking about the stolen election. And there are people who are really angry about it, including the truckers. They're just frosted. Rich Scheben?
Well, thank you, Vince. I'm just going to rattle off as much information as possible, folks. I have 6 hours of information I got to give in an hour and a half, so here goes. First of all, I want to say happy belated Veterans Day. We really appreciate all your services and sacrifices, especially to the combat soldiers who gave their lives for our freedoms and liberties. Over 1 million of them. Now, I want everybody to remember that point. We are sitting here because we have a little free speech left. We have the ability to protect ourselves with weaponry. It's because of these 1 million plus people and the people who survived who gave everything up so we can live free. I want you to remember that. It's so important. I cannot say that enough, and I can't say it anymore because I have so much stuff. And like Vince says, This election fraud, voter fraud, is an absolute steal. And what the powers that be are doing is following a script, whether it be COVID-19, whether it be the actual steal, whether it be the Hammer and Scorecard CIA software program, where I mentioned already a few times, worth almost 20,000 votes right in front of us on CNN was allocated to Joe Biden, the same amount of votes taken from Donald Trump. And now they can hide and manipulate votes in fractions with this Dominion software. And this is owned by, from what I've read, Soros, Feinstein, Pelosi. This is really bad news. This is total corruption. So I'm going to start with some good news here. I want everybody to write this down, or if you're in front of your computer, you can take a look at it. The website is called everylegalvote.com. everylegalvote.com. And it's got some, basically some recent stories on the right-hand side, like Jeff Harshman, local man, brags on Facebook. He voted for Biden 29 times. Wisconsin glitch discovered that helped Biden. Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, you have so much voter fraud, it's unbelievable, and it's all going to come out. And there's going to be a lot of people going to prison. So this is why, for you people who are implicit in this or know something, you better come out and talk and call up campaign hotline voter frauds like 800-895-4152. I believe the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, I'm going to discuss that in a bit, is giving $1 million reward for voter fraud. But Bucks County, Pennsylvania posts real election ballots as samples online for anyone to download. I want you to think about that. Sidney Powell recently explains 450,000 ballots in key states only have a mark for Joe Biden. Only have a mark. Think about this. She says that hundreds of thousands of ballots are going to have to be discarded. This is called suffering from cognitive dissonance, folks. This is not just about hiding declassifications and high crimes. This is all showing that all of this theater, all this steal, is financed by the wealthiest people in the world. Now, if you scroll down on everylegalvote.com, it's going to give you an up-to-date picture of where things stand right now with the vote count. So what they're doing is they're showing a map, and they're showing you can do it with voter fraud, without voter fraud. That's irrelevant because they're still counting and going through all this voter fraud by the tens of thousands, by the millions. And I'm going to discuss that too. It's right now because we know that North Carolina and Alaska yesterday went for Donald Trump. Right now, the current status on this website shows Joe Biden with 214 electoral votes and Donald Trump with 232. Now, if you scroll down below that, you will see Arizona has a check mark on it, and all these check marks mean that fraud has been detected. Arizona is only leading, and it's in the millions and hundreds of thousands, so I'm just going to do quick math in my head. Looks like, maybe, 10,000 votes right now. Georgia, same thing. Biden's leading by 6,000 votes. Michigan, same thing. Nevada, same thing. Pennsylvania, same thing. Virginia, Wisconsin, same thing. All these states are going to be looked out, recounted.
Rich Scheben's with us. In class, please indulge 34 seconds to listen very carefully to this.
Inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity that most people don't fully understand. That is unique and, how can I say it? So strong with Jews worldwide. I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say when I was a young senator, I'd say if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
There you have it. So for those who got a chance to look it up, that's what you would have heard or seen. There it was on YouTube from 2013. 2013. Rich Scheben, back to you.
Vince, Joe Biden has so much dirt against him. He's been proven to be basically a Chinese spy with the business dealings that they have done. Listen, I'm going to keep moving on here because I have so much information. I'm going to even have to. I'm looking at all I have to do today. I'm going to start even shortcutting my messages and hopefully delivering the context. Talking about the Dominion voting systems are not only switching votes to the Democrats like Biden from Donald Trump, but they're also losing votes mostly from Trump just on a lost basis. That's why we need a revote, folks. These recounts and audits aren't going to bring out a lot of these votes. Maybe some kind of forensic audit would disclose a little more fraud, but there was a video of this woman I just saw yesterday, and I've validated it, I verified it. In 2 minutes, she went into the voting machine administration and had access. Now, when I was talking about Sidney Powell a few moments ago, hundreds of thousands of ballots that will have to be discarded. Okay, even that's in Georgia alone. The ballot voters who checked only for the president race, Trump got 818 votes and Joe Biden got 95,800 plus. Folks, stolen votes equals stolen protection, restitution, and rights under the rule of law. Now, what we're seeing is they're marking ballots with no mark, with other candidates, no signature or postmark, dead people voting, ballots allocated in the wrong box, certain people who vote a certain way, the vote goes in a different box. This is all, there's eyewitnesses, there's affidavits, there's videos for all of this stuff. Batches of ballots with up to 60% having the same signature, dirty voter rolls, whistleblowers, and witnesses coming forward from Dominion. From Dominion, whistleblowers are coming forward from the Dominion voting system. Everybody, this is a major, major fraud. This is a steal. This is tyranny, sedition, racketeering, 1,000-fold. What's basically happened with these computer systems is that they programmed it to set up, and they anticipated a red wave, but they didn't anticipate a dozen tsunamis, which is what happened. So they had to stop the count and update the machines for a huge drop of Biden votes. And this is why detecting it with a hand count is really the best way to do it at this point. In other words, the Democrats have been caught because they didn't expect this. From my reading and research, folks, Donald Trump, his actual vote count is 20% higher nationwide that's being reported, and Joe Biden is 20% lower that's being reported. That's minimum. So that's a minimum of 40%. So I want you to take that number and take 20% of those votes off of Joe Biden and add 20% that was taken off of Donald Trump's back onto his. And that's exactly what we're looking at. And I said minimum. Now, there's been some more breaking news just in the last 2 days since I've been on the air regarding almost 4 million votes for Trump stolen in forensic data analysis. Now, there's 8 swing states, and some of them will surprise you. Pennsylvania, Virginia shouldn't, but New York, New Jersey, West Virginia, Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, huge numbers in these states. Philadelphia, for those of you who haven't gotten this news yet, has destroyed all ballot envelopes. This will make identifying naked ballots and ballots arriving post-election very difficult. This makes it very difficult to find fraud, even in audits. See, they're doing this purposely. And what they need to do regarding, and for those of you who went on that website that I was talking about, which was everylegalvote.com, if you notice, states like Maine and Nebraska is purple because they're sharing votes. What they need to do is New York, California, upstate, downstate, Washington, Oregon, east and west. What they need to do is split the Electoral College because we're allowing Portland and Seattle and LA and San Francisco to do all the voting. That's why we have an Electoral College, because the little people and the people in rural America don't have representation. All 50 states need cross-verification, voter ID, hand counts, and signature verification. Everything is so fake, folks. It's unbelievable. I haven't even really gotten to the meat and potatoes of the articles yet, so I'm just going to start ripping it out, and you're not going to believe it. I mean, I've been doing this, Vince, for months now, talking about voter and election fraud. I mean, I love talking about financial, economic, social, and political stuff, and political correctness, and off-grid living, and gardening, and raising animals, and hunting and fishing, and self-sufficient. I love all that stuff. But this is so mandatory that we discuss voter and election fraud 98% of the time, because this is over the top. This is absolutely over the top. Please remember that website, everylegalvote.com, Americans, and those of you around the world who are listening. It's the most updated website on this particular vote that we have right now. Next article, Joe Biden in first debate. I will not declare victory unless the election is independently certified. The mainstream media, folks, they don't have any clout for any certification. They don't have any credibility. They're bought and paid for and owned by 5 corporations. The mainstream media is controlled by 5 corporations. And here's the next article. What a coincidence. Biden just said yesterday it's an embarrassment that Donald Trump hasn't conceded yet. What they're trying to do is fast-track this, folks, because they can see all the voter and election fraud coming forth. They can see the whistleblowers. They can see the witnesses. People are tired of not having representation. Next article. CNN lists Republican senators who have not acknowledged Biden as president-elect. Have you been hearing what we and the alternative media are saying? This was stolen. This election isn't even close. And Donald Trump should get a similar amount of electoral votes that he got last time. It's unbelievable. The fact that the DOJ and the FBI haven't shut all this down and let the states vote through the 12th Amendment, and we all know which direction that's going to go. This whole thing is a fraud. America is being looked at worldwide as a fraud. The whole system is rigged. The whole process is fake. No wonder why the units of measure of despair is increasing in this country and the world. Next article. John Solomon says Mark Zuckerberg spent $350 million to Democrat election judges. How is the DOJ and FBI and the U.S. Marshals not arresting these people? Is there any legitimacy left in America? Next article. Another glitch. Trump loses 32,600 plus votes in Pennsylvania in 1 hour. Next article. Detroit poll challenger witnessed election workers counting ballots for non-eligible voters. Then they kicked them out for noticing. People, if Donald Trump and the Republicans did 1/1,000,000th of the articles and the proof and the evidence discussed just from our show alone, everybody involved would be in the who's gal for life. Next article. Obama security advisor admits Biden is already talking with foreign leaders. A breach of the Logan Act, like Vince Finelli mentioned on Tuesday. And guess why is the Logan Act relevant? Because that's what they basically clung on to falsify Michael Flynn to be investigated, and he's still not free. Michael Flynn, General Flynn, you need to come out with all of your information that you know. and not allow the crooked court system to hold you back. You need to declassify everything. Next article. Woman who voted for Trump in Texas, shocked to find out she also voted via mail-in ballots. Think about that. Remember I mentioned last week about Maidengate, where they're using women's votes who were divorced or got remarried? Well, think about this, folks. In America, the divorce rate is between 70 and 75%. And that's if you include all the people getting married and divorced. So think about the stats that are skewed on women apparently not voting for Trump. Because everything that we're talking about, everything that we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is going in Biden's favor. Everything. All the votes being stolen is from Trump. Next article. Nevada won't investigate voter fraud until after election is certified. I want you to think about that. They're so corrupt in Nevada. How do these election officials keep their job? They should be arrested. My God, does anybody have backbone anymore? Next article. Lindsey Graham, possible ballot harvesting in Pennsylvania involving 25,000 nursing home residents. So the blue states aren't satisfied with killing their residents to get up COVID numbers. Now they're ballot harvesting them and coercing nursing home residents. Unbelievable. Operation Scorecard, Democrat voter suppression, CIA intelligence, alters voting machine results. We've talked about that in detail. Next article. Michigan ballot worker openly brags about destroying every Trump ballot he saw. Next article. Joe Biden is the beneficiary of statistical anomalies that magically, and that's in quotes, impacted Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin vote counts on November 4th. For those of you in the 10 swing states, they're saying your so-called official authorities are saying you don't matter. What you think doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Welcome to the USSR, folks. We'll be right back.
Rich Scheben's with us in Montana. Rich, I would like to put an exclamation point on what you've said. Headlines. This is dailymail.co.uk. Quote, Republican Senator James Lankford says he will intervene if Joe Biden is not given access to intelligence briefings by Friday, although he won't admit Democrat has won. End quote. That's the headlines. It goes on to say that Republican Senator James Lankford said that he would step in if Joe Biden is not granted access to the daily presidential intelligence briefings by the end of the week. He says there's no loss from him getting the briefings. And even though Jumpin' Joe, the plagiarist, is just an ordinary citizen at the moment, he has not been certified by the GSA. He's just like everybody else. And Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma, Republican, says that he's going to step in and make sure that Jumpin' Joe gets the presidential daily briefings. That sounds like treason. These are highly confidential briefings, daily briefings. And he wants to make sure that a candidate for selection for CEO gets them even before he's certified. It's unacceptable. Rich Scheben, any comments?
Oh, yeah, I read that too, Vince. And it's treason, it's sedition, it's the whole ball of wax. Everything the Democrats are doing right now, because they're so desperate, is fraud. Fraud, fraud, fraud. Just like in Georgia. You know, the Dems suggested that out-of-state liberals move to Georgia to vote in the Senate runoff election. It's not liberal conservative. It's not left-right paradigm. It is a literal tyrannical, totalitarian, fascist, communist insurrection takeover. The elite who are funding this are not going to have one iota drop in their quality of life. Not one. And everything that they're doing under the guise of liberal or Democrats, it's not even the case if you do any reading and research at all. And they're telling people to commit fraud and move to Georgia so they can vote in the Senate runoff. I'm going to continue with more video articles, Vince, and hopefully I can catch up a little later, and then we can do a little, talk about the consequences of this. For next article, the Democrats also rigged the 218 midterms to steal the House and launch Russiagate. Of course they did. That's what this article is all about. They did that. 2018 was fraud because all this information, the Hammer and Scorecard and CIA software and all these things that we're discussing now didn't get disclosed last election. We're living a lie. Next article, analysis finds over 10,000 dead people return mail-in ballots just in Michigan alone. Just in Michigan. In other words, you people in Michigan don't have a right to vote. What you think doesn't matter. Next article, Nevada poll worker, mysterious Biden van was marking ballots. This is a Nevada poll worker whistleblower. Next article, Kelly says we have 240 pages of sworn affidavits proving voter fraud. But see, this doesn't just get discussed on the mainstream media. Next election, Pittsburgh Election Board to count 2,000 ballots without any postmark. That is not legal. That's against the Constitution. These 2,000 ballots in Pennsylvania alone without postmarks and dates, that's illegal. Those people should be put in prison. Does anybody in Pennsylvania have backbone? Next article. Texas Lieutenant Governor offers $1 million reward. I mentioned that earlier for voter fraud. We need whistleblowers. We need heroes. Stop being part of the silent majority, Americans. We had over 1 million people, combat soldiers in their teens and early 20s, die on sandy beaches with blood in their face, being shot, their heads shot off, everything, for your freedoms. Everybody should be speaking up. Everybody. Next article. Republican Representative Scott Perry on Pennsylvania. Republican poll watchers kept thousands of feet away in Philadelphia. You can't make this stuff up. This is all these people should go to prison. Next article. Jason Miller, we found illegal ballot harvesting in Georgia. Duh. Next article. Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, both financially tied to Dominion voting systems. We talked about that in the last few weeks. 120,000 straight vote dump for Joe Biden is impossible, but it happened. Next article. Boston University professor says, you're going to love this, folks. Please sit down. If you're driving, please pull over. Boston University professor says the term legal vote is racist. Is this hard to believe? Wow, have we fallen? It's unbelievable how stupid they think the people are. We'll be right back after the top of the hour break.
Yeah. Rich Scheben's with us, and he is live in Montana. And he called me, and he said he was available today. I thought that was great because he and I both feel the stolen election deserves more airtime. More airtime. And those of you who are broadcasters, I hope you're going to join USA Prepares in exposing this. Join us, please. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2, USA Prepares. Rich Scheben's with us, and we're talking about the stolen election. Rich, please continue.
Well, thank you, Vince. And again, thank you for letting me exercise my First Amendment right. And also, thank you for letting me hog so much airtime, Vince, because I think this is so important. I think America, this is a make or break moment. There's so many thousands of pieces of information, of evidence, of whistleblowers, of videos, of smoking guns, of, oh my gosh, the fact that the powers that be have not said that this election is total fraud and we should have a revote in every state is mind-boggling. It just goes to show, folks, the people at the top, every institution, every government is fake. They're bought and paid for. They're blackmailed. Everything is rigged. Nothing is legitimate. Nothing in America is legitimate. Nothing in America is legitimate anymore. Next article. 23,000 ballots have an impossible return date, earlier than the date sent. This is in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania doesn't have smoking guns. They got videos of the guns being shot and the bullets coming out of the chamber in slow motion. Think about this. 23,000 ballots have an impossible return date, earlier than the sent date. How is this the United States of America, people? What the hell is going on around here? Is there anybody in the DOJ, the U.S. Marshals, or the FBI, or our intelligence agencies, or law enforcement that doesn't have a yellow stripe down their back? Is there anybody? I can't even believe I'm reading this crap. Next article. U.S. rejected Ukraine. This is going back in history a little bit in 2004. Rejected Ukraine election results over absentee ballots. You can't make this stuff up. We did not allow an election because we were so high and mighty and noble, and we all had all this philanthropy and all this. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and we don't even practice what we preach. And we're telling other countries that we're not accepting elections. All this phony benevolence is literally leaping out of the jar here. Next article. De Blasio's daughter was, for those of you who didn't see this, de Blasio's daughter, who's, as you know, the mayor of New York City, says that Biden stole the election. Now they're saying, this is on video. This is on audio. And now they're saying it was a slip on of the tongue when she admitted that Biden stole the election. We're not even in Twilight Zone episodes anymore. We're not even in the Matrix. We're not in anything 1984 Orwellian. We are so corrupt. There is no legitimacy in the U.S. government, and it goes 100-fold for the biggest establishments like the UN and the CFR and the Trilateral Committee, the whole works. Everything is corrupt. Nothing is legitimate. We need to go back to the Constitution. This is the biggest election fraud steal in the history of America. This is, I've never read anything in history worldwide as blatant, obvious, and fraudulent as what's going on here. Okay, next article. You're going to love this. 99.6% of mail-in ballots went to Joe Biden in Pennsylvania. Wrap your head around these numbers, people. Remember when Rand Paul the other day questioned the election results? He was talking about the context or the analogy of how the government sent 1.1 million dead people stimulus checks. Remember that? Well, I've been doing a little research on that. There's a database of over 2 million people that are dead. Do you think it's possible that this database all voted? Hell yeah. Next article. Arizona Democrat Secretary of State rejects independent analysis of voting data. So the corrupt Democrats in Arizona and Nevada are literally telling the people who live there, your vote opinion means nothing. Zero. Next article. McCaney unveils 234 pages of affidavits alleging election irregularities, in Michigan. In just Michigan alone, 234 pages just in Michigan. Poll Watcher, mystery Detroit ballots were delivered in vehicles with out-of-state plates at 4:30 a.m. People, are you listening to all this evidence? Again, this is on video. These are affidavits. These are witnesses. These are whistleblowers. This is math. This is freaking math. How is the heck is the mainstream media calling Joe Biden a president-elect? This is the biggest scam I've ever seen in my life. I've never read about a scam anywhere in history worldwide bigger than what's going on today or right now. Next article. Giuliani says 650,000 votes were counted unlawfully in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. 650,000. Remember the website I shared with you in the beginning of the show, everylegalvote.com? Please take some of what I'm saying and some of this math and go into everylegalvote.com and see where President Trump stands. He won this election hands down. He won it more than he won it last time. This is a scam. And it turns out that most of the donations to Donald Trump's election legal fund were being diverted to someone else, somewhere else. Wow. And you remember that we mentioned that U.S. Postal Service whistleblower Richard Hopkins, who's a patriot? Remember that? Well, the U.S. News said he recanted his story, saying that basically he lied or he misspoke. Well, Richard Hopkins, the U.S. Postal Service whistleblower, said absolutely not. So what did they do? James O'Keefe actually released secret recordings of federal agents attempting to coerce this U.S. Postal Service whistleblower patriot, Richard Hopkins. The federal government went in there to coerce him. Is there anybody in the federal government that can look themselves in the mirror? What's your morale like in the federal government right now? Really? What is it like? Vince, I know I can't, but boy, I feel like saying a lot of four-letter words, and I won't. Don't worry, but boy, my blood is boiling. This is just what I've discovered in the last 2 days of research since the last time I was on the show on Tuesday. I can't even believe it. I've read and I've researched and I've verified
I know your blood is boiling. I know, I can hear it. And well, while you're just letting your blood pressure come down, I don't know, 40, 50 points, Biden's COVID chief, says that the U.S. should go into a total national lockdown for 6 weeks. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this, Mrs. Finelli came into the studio. That never happens, okay? She is so concerned. I mean, Mrs. Finelli's pretty calm. You know her. Well, she came into the studio and she said, would you talk to Rich about this? Biden's chief, COVID chief says the U.S. should go on total lockdown for 6 weeks to avoid.
This in 4 more articles, buddy. But go ahead.
Go ahead. All right.
No, you go ahead.
He's saying this guy, Dr. Michael Osterholm, suggests the U.S. should go into a 4 to 6 week national lockdown to combat the spike in coronaviruses. Now, the thing that Mrs. Finelli was shocked about is he says that that the states could borrow money to pay wages while businesses are forced to close. Now, borrowing money used to mean, unless it's really been changed, borrowing money means you get to use it, you pay interest for using it, and then you pay it back. Unless that's really changed and they mean gift, why would a business borrow money to keep employees working when they're not going to be working for 4 to 6 weeks? Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just say, y'all go home? We can't afford you because we're not doing anything. We're shutting down. If we shut the country down for total shutdown, national lockdown, that's what they're talking about, for 4 to 6 weeks, that means lots of things stop. Lots of things. Pretty much everything. And yet the government is saying, well, the feds, they can just pay their employees because, well, they'll just print the money, right? But everybody else is going to go belly up, or almost everybody else. Think about that. If you're in lockdown and you have a good old-fashioned checking account and you actually pay by checks and you go to the bank and use cash, how are you going to do that? Oh, well, you shoulda, coulda, woulda had an electronic account, right? Pay by clicking the mouse. Well, if you don't, and we don't, you got a big problem. So that's what the Jumpin' Joe the plagiarist guy, the COVID chief, Michael Osterholm, suggests that happen. Lock the country down 4 to 6 weeks. this is a big deal. Locking the country down means nothing happens. Nothing.
This is
very, very serious.
Vince, this is a huge big deal. What they want to do is, remember many times I have a whole list of like 25, 30 things. I talk about the agenda. This is part of it. They want to delegitimize the U.S. dollar. They want a cashless society. They want a total takeover of digital dollars where the powers that be can basically print anything they want to their buddies, to the pedophiles, to the Planned Parenthoods, to the depopulation efforts, all the things on the... They want a government cryptocurrency that's centralized. There's not going to be any validity in it. And they're forcing people to do this. We are living history right now, folks. And I was going to mention this in 4 more articles, but let's talk about, how they're using the agenda and COVID and the pandemic to basically, they're going to say it's used to revive the economy, but it's being done to do exactly the opposite. Okay, like, for example, Governor Cuomo issues lockdowns on private homes just before Thanksgiving. I want you to think about this. This is totalitarian. This is Nazi USSR stuff. How many times have they called President Trump a Nazi? That's exactly what they're doing. Every time they call the Republicans something, they're doing what they're accusing us of doing. This is totalitarian communist takeover. And as I mentioned the other day, the New York Bar Association calls for mandatory COVID vaccines with no exceptions. That's called slow kill, folks. That's called destroying your immune system. Let's just talk about.
Now let's talk about what's going to happen to the. Let's talk about what's going to happen to the police. Let's say the police are forced to lock us down for 6 weeks. Do you think that as a police officer, they themselves will not be targets? They will be targets for trying to enforce the national lockdown. We'll be right back. Scheben's with us. So let's wrap 3 things that have happened in one little package. 3 things this week. So the Biden conspiracy/regime wants to lock down the United States of America for 4 to 6 weeks. At the same time, Deutsche Bank has announced that it wants to tax people for working from home, about 5%. At the same time, the New York State Attorney General, the New York State Bar Association passed a resolution urging the state to consider making it mandatory for all New Yorkers to undergo COVID-19 vaccinations when they're available, even if people object for religious, philosophical, or personal reasons. So here we have total control of we, the villagers. That's what they want. Now, what about this taxation by Deutsche Bank? What Deutsche Bank is saying is, well, y'all used to go to work. Well, there's a whole bunch of infrastructure that somebody paid for, and that infrastructure is not being used. So because that's not being used, you should be paying for it. Now, who built that infrastructure? That would be the banks. That would be businesses. So because that infrastructure is not being used, Deutsche Bank wants to tax people who are working from home, because they say if you're working from home, you're not using the infrastructure, the elevator and the heat and things like that. And you're not going out to eat and spending $10 going out to eat. So that $10 should be given back to other people. Take it from you and give it to other people. Then they're saying, well, you've got all these advantages of working from home. You don't have to buy the fancy wardrobe. You don't have to have your hair done. You're not going out to eat every day. But what they forgot is, well, now you've got the air conditioning system running at home that would be left off while you were at work, the lighting system, the internet, all the extra furniture that you had to buy to work from home, all that, well, that doesn't count, right? So here we have people twisting words, twisting meanings, twisting logic to make you think that you should be paying more for less. That's twisted logic, and that's what's happening. Up is down, left is right, back is forward. That's what's happening all over the United States of America. People are lying to us. And the election is just part of it. It's a whole plan to take us down. And you have to think about this. You have to think, how sick would a person be to want to pollute his own swimming pool? Well, that's what these elite are doing. They've literally polluted the planet. Dump trash in the ocean, put trash in space, polluted the air, polluted the land, spread radioactivity all over the planet. That's what they do. They don't mind doing it. That's how evil they are. We can't think in those terms because we're not like that. They are defective. These elite are defective. And if they want to reduce population, I'm all for it. Start with them. And we'll see how it works. Start reducing population with all of the elite. They go first. Since they want it. They called for it. You guys go first. Rich?
You know, Vince, I've been given so many ideas and solutions by the thousands over the years. Talk about practice what you preach laws. If it was implemented, by the so-called good people, all these ideas and solutions that I've talked about, my God, over the years. But the problem is the people in power, they want to manufacture their perception of their own self-importance and self-preservation. They're afraid to step outside the box. They're afraid to talk math. They're afraid to tell the truth. They're basically just followers. It's unbelievable. President Trump is literally surrounded by followers, cowards, and traitors. It's very disturbing. And, when you were talking about what Deutsche Bank wants to do and tax people at home for working out of the home, well, that's why they want to keep property taxes going up. But, see, they don't talk about all this carbon footprint crap that they've been talking for years. How about the fact that you're not taking your car and you're not traveling, you're not commuting, you're working at home, you're decreasing your carbon footprint? But see, that's an instance where it doesn't occur. But since you started bringing up COVID before, and we talked about the New York Bar Association and Cuomo locking private homes down before Thanksgiving, my gosh, people in New York and California, you are literally living in a Nazi USSR hell. I mean, here we have articles like the UK Prime Minister is meeting with Bill Gates. Boris Johnson sold out the people to discuss implementing a global vaccine to destroy your immune system to give you nanotechnology so you're a 5G antenna. Let's talk about some math when we come back. Holy smokes.
Rich Scheben's with us. Rich, you've been with us here at USA Prepares on Tuesday for years and years. Not quite 10 years, but getting close. And Thursdays for the last couple of weeks. I have next Thursday open. Would you let me know if you'd like to be on and continue talking about this highly volatile, highly important, most important subject on the air today, of course, Tuesdays, and as well next Thursday. So if you'd like it, it's yours.
Well, I appreciate it, Vince. Let me check my itinerary, and we'll talk privately, and I'll let you know if I can pull it off. But I want to, since we discussed right before the end of the break, and I know our time's running down, we talked about this coronavirus and how Cuomo wants to lock down private homes before Thanksgiving. The New York Bar Association calls for mandatory COVID vaccines. This is scary stuff, folks. This is total totalitarianism. This is tyranny. This is medical tyranny. Bill Gates is running around the world meeting with the Prime Minister of the UK, talking about discussing vaccines worldwide. Now, if you recall, on Tuesday, I talked about, and those of you who don't know, who are new listeners, I was in Big Pharma for over 20 years, okay? And they are extremely corrupt, and I've mentioned many, many proven articles published in the public domain about this corrupt industry, and especially GlaxoSmithKline, who I worked for the majority of the time, on how if you did their behaviors by a fraction of 1/1,000,000th, you would be in jail for the rest of your life, and this company is still practicing making billions of dollars. Now, when Pfizer, remember when Pfizer a few days ago, came out with this vaccine saying it was 90% effective? Let's do a little math here, okay, folks, because if we don't use common sense and logic, and true patriots don't have the guts to be hated, to say the truth, and if we don't work together, we're going to die alone. Everybody has to play a role because we're letting the sociopaths, the psychopaths, who need to be loved for fake benevolence, fake nobility, fake self-righteousness, fake philanthropy, all they care about is their own personal addictions to power, money, and control. That's it. We have to make sure that Donald Trump realizes that leaders can't be bigger than the ideas. You have to listen to the people. I know he does, but we have to limit the amount of authority figures, and I'm doing air quotes here, because authority figures and experts are bought and paid for. Nothing matters. See, if nothing matters, if this keeps going, not only will nothing matter, but nothing will ever matter again, because the little people's never going to have representation. There's nothing you can do ever again to control your own destiny. Everything you say, you'll be labeled as a conspiracy theorist or controversial racist, bigot, sexist, misogynist, the anti-ism is phobe type thing. Official authorities are now an official bona fide joke in America, okay? Okay? We've proved this. So when Pfizer CEO, when they just came out with this supposed vaccine, what's 90% effective, let's do a little math. How can that be relevant when COVID has a 99.7% survival rate? These lockdowns that they want to do, not just in the blue states, not just the U.S., but worldwide, to create a totalitarian takeover, okay? I want you to do the math. When you have a vaccine that's 90% effective, and the survival rate is 99.9%, and the lockdowns have been proven to be 1,000 times worse than any COVID could ever be. And then the CEO of Pfizer, have you heard about this, folks? He dumped 62% of his stock on the COVID vaccine announcement. So he pocketed his money. And where did that money come from? I did a little research. U.S. taxpayers subsidize Big Pharma over $2 billion for these so-called vaccines. So when this Pfizer CEO dumped 62% of his stock after the vaccine announcement that he basically theatered, he took this money from you because subsidized by the U.S. taxpayers by a tune of over $2 billion. And let me give you a little more information. While Big Pharma has been contributing their lobbying money, almost $7 million went to Joe Biden. You know how much went to Donald Trump? $1.5 million. I want you to do some math here. I want you to connect the dots. We are entering a communist insurrection, folks. I want you to listen to all the articles that I've been mentioning for months. I mean, I'm getting to the point that there's so much evidence that I can't even believe what I'm saying. This is so surreal. The fact that this election has not been voided is unbelievable. The powers that be do not give one piece of crap what you think, what your opinion is. It doesn't matter. But yet, D.C. can strip parents of legal guardianship and allow predators to vaccinate their kids without the parents' knowledge. Even though these antibodies from COVID-19 fade very quickly, rendering vaccines useless. But let's not use science and math because we got to see which experts are bought and paid for to carry the narrative. But in Massachusetts, we can let radical criminals loose with basically little bail, even though they're murderers and rapists, and they can go out and do it again or they can't be found. In Massachusetts, regarding the abortion thing, they're basically creating laws now where if the baby survives late-term abortion, and they want to have abortion up to day of birth, the baby survives, there's no rescuing that baby. In other words, it's going to go to the organ mill for the elite to harvest these organs. That's what's happening. And in Minnesota, by the way, there's so much crime that they're now calling for outside police officers to come in, while the people in power are hiring private security with your tax dollars. Folks, you know what? I call myself an average Joe non-hyphenated American for almost 10 years on the radio for a reason. Because I am. I'm an average Joe. Everybody should be doing something. If you don't get on the radio, if you don't write a book, that's fine. You can do other things. We have sacrificed over 1 million combat soldiers for our Bill of Rights and Constitution and freedoms and liberties. And we're just going to basically kick their names in the dirt. We're going to tell their families that those people who died for our country, you guys mean nothing. Well, they're saying your vote means nothing. When you look at all the units of measure of despair, where hard work, effort, proven results, and qualifications mean almost nothing in America, all of it depending on what group you're in. Drug use through the roof. Not just the street drugs, but the feathering the nest of the antidepressant, antipsychotic drugs for Big Pharma, the hate hoaxes, the forced inoculations, the obesity, GMO foods, 5G and nanotechnology, inability to protect yourself from guns and free speech, suicides going through the roof, depopulation efforts going through the roof, harvesting late-term abortion baby organs for the wealthy, pedophilia, adult mutual consensual sex off the table, decreased life expectancy, where the people who tattletale snitch are getting benefits, and lockdowns and masks are going through the roof, and a permanent caste system is being created right in front of your eyes. Everybody, we need to read, we need to research. This is not a left-right paradigm. This is an aristocracy trying to control and manage the serfs for their own personal benefit of the power, control, and money addictions that they have. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And Vince, everybody on USA Prepares does it for free, because this is the obligation of being an American. And this is why I try to give information like that website, everylegalvote.com. Everylegalvote.com. It's showing that the current status, with the fraud included, is that Donald Trump is up in electoral votes 232 to Joe Biden 214. Do not believe the mainstream media. There's no certification that's been done for the vote. The GSA needs to certify the election. It's all BS. Everything is made up. It's all propaganda, hoaxes, false flags, and lies, and especially using gaslighting. That's why they're pushing all this President-elect Biden crap. That's why they're pushing all this totalitarian, tyrannical. You can't, in New York, you can't have Thanksgiving. I mean, this is all a bunch of BS. And I want you to remember all the math and all the numbers and all the ballot voters and all the eyewitnesses and the whistleblowers and even people in the Dominion software people are coming forward and whistleblowing. Folks, we've been had, we've been taken, we're being duped, we're being played, we're being conned by the very few people at the top. That's why I talk about central banks, private central banks, because they can print all the money that they want, even digitally, stick it in their pockets for the propaganda and the hoaxes and the takeovers. That's what they do. It's us. Do you really want to live in the land of the free and the home of the brave? If you do, it's either that choice and do something about it, or we're going to go down as the divided groups of buy and of fraud. That's what's going to happen. That's what this country's new name will be. Vince?
Rich, USA Prepares has received a communique. I won't say how, from somebody I trust. And I'm not going to mention his or her name. But the communique states that the Marines are pretty frosted. United States Marine Corps is pretty frosted, not as a whole, but individuals, because their fallen brothers have voted in this rigged election. So Marines who have died have voted after their death in this election. And Marines are frosted. I don't think they're going to let that stand. That's one thing. Another thing is that the Chinese factory outlet has teamed up with a company called iBoda. It's an application on a cell phone. And people up to, I think they're looking at maybe 1 million people can get a maximum cashback reward of $20.27. And what is that? Well, things are so bad in the United States of America that Thanksgiving won't be this year what it used to be. So a group of companies like Coke and Campbell's and others, French's, they are going to provide, through this application, some freebies. And that is 3 pounds of butterball turkey, some turkey gravy, French's onions, Idahoan mashed potatoes. So I mentioned that the Chinese factory outlet Walmart is teaming up with some other companies, and they're going to provide what appears to be free meals to people, up to 1 million of them, this Thanksgiving. Here's my take on it. Okay, so how about the people who are at the top of the heap? Why don't they help America? I'm talking about Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Steve Ballmer, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin. How about the Waltons, Jim and Rob Walton? How about Michael Bloomberg? How about Charles Koch or Co., however you pronounce it? How about the Knight family? How about Michael Dell? How about John Mars of the candy and pet food industry? There's so many people who could help out. Why don't they get up off some of that money that they can't even say, have so much they can't even say grace over it? How about if they pitch in and help out? How about that? But I don't think they will, because if they spend some of that on the villagers, then their ranking won't be so high next year. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And then we have these politicians lying at every turn. Every turn. They've gotten a hidden agenda. They know that if they get into office and they make, let's say $185,000 a year as a politician, they can turn that into millions, possibly billions, through influence, selling, treason, and sedition. Rich?
Well, yeah, you ever notice that list you just made and all the lists that I've made, if not all, they're mostly white males? Well, whatever happened to blaming white males, folks? See, this is what happens when the powers that be brainwash you into protecting your group, hyphen, and pronoun. We've given free lunch to the elite while they use divide and conquer strategies against us, poisoning us against each other, and forcing the delegitimization of work, making sure that certain groups feel entitled to play the victim group status card, demand to lower the bars and standards of expectations for a job, basically delegitimize work, where hard work, effort, proven results, and qualifications mean nothing, and they make you doubt your own value, so you feel more despair, so that you demand no protection, rights, and restitution under the rule of law for the people affected and targeted, which gives runaway power to all the big corporations and big government. So you enable them and protect them, the most corrupt companies and industries in the country and the world, and then you give them liability immunity, and then they want to take that and make vaccines and give us all poison to lower our immune system, and then we give them liability immunity, and while they're creating wealth inequality, while like the example I just mentioned earlier in the show, where we are subsidizing their R&D to make these vaccines, and then they're cashing in their big stock options to feather their own pocket. So we give free lunch to the elite because there's certain people out there who want to protect their group, hyphen, and pronoun. It's time to start being American, or else precedents are going to eliminate the rule of law. Free lunch will only be given to the elite forever. Hypocrisy and double standards and brainwashing will be a daily thing. Nothing will matter. Nothing will matter.
If you think, class, that there's not a double standard, I'm going to prove it to you right now. I bought a Lodge cast iron skillet, really heavy, on Amazon. It's about $18 shipped. I couldn't put that skillet in the same box and ship it across the road to my neighbor for $18. You can go to Sam's Club right now, and if you have a Plus account, you get free shipping. You can buy 38 pounds of cat food for $19.98. 38 pounds, and they'll ship it to you, included in the price. How is it possible that the Walton family, the major shareholder of Walmart/Sam's Club, how can they do that? Because they've got a special deal. They've got a special deal on shipping. Can you imagine shipping a bag of dog food, let's say 2 bags of dog food, $20 a piece, 40 pounds of dog food, shipping 2 of those, and getting free shipping from Walmart? If you spend more than $35, you get free shipping. Anybody. How is it possible that the post office or UPS or FedEx could deliver 2 40-pound bags of dog food for $40? How is that possible? With the dog food and the packaging and the labels and the handling and all the rest of it. How is that possible? It's not possible without special deals and concessions. And who's paying for that? Well, I guess that'd be you and me and Rich. There are special deals for them, and they're crushing their competitors with these special deals. Because that local little hardware store that might sell dog food absolutely, positively couldn't compete. It probably costs $40 to send you 1 bag of dog food. Without the dog food. We're going down. We're going down. I can see it. I can feel it. I don't like it. Rich, anything you want to say in the last 10 seconds?
Folks, just remember the nation is not only on the ballot, but everybody around the world that wants to live free. Freedom, liberty, and the rule of law is on the ballot. Everything's at stake. Keep that in mind. Thank you for being here today,
Well
everybody.
said. Well said. Thank you, Rich.